And that's why we say, for your own health, think positive.
Okay, everyone, welcome to Young and Gifted podcast, the podcast where we dive into the lives of young and gifted people. And young and gifted could be of any age. Today we have Ben. He's a life coach, he's a business coach, and he's much more things. And he will get into what he is. Today we're going to be discussing the power of positive thinking and the importance of it. So without further intro, we have Ben.
Thank you, Von. Other things that he is, what are those things, right? So I think primarily I'm a coach, right? And when I say I'm a coach, I mean I'm not a coach as a job, right? I'm a coach as it's a way of living for me personally, and also with helping others to achieve the things they seek to achieve, basically. Now, how did I get into coaching? I got into coaching because I just realized at a point in time that I had issues I got to deal with myself. And I went looking for help and realized after getting help that I can also help other people. And so I added what we call NLP to my coaching, which really is neuro linguistic programming. And what does that do? It's trying to connect our thought patterns, right, with the way our brain works. So basically, neuro-linguistic programming is about the language of the brain and how we interpret it into languages, behaviors, and actions as individuals. And after getting done with that, I realized that that teaches me how to drive the car, right? Which is how to drive the car of the mind. But really, what happens under that hood? A lot of us drive cars around, but if you open the hood, we're at a loss about it. So NLP is like you learning to drive the car, but you have no idea what's happening under your hood. You can drive the car, you can pull all the skills, all the stunts. So I went back again and went to formally study psychology. And so I have that again in marketing, and I've spent all my life in learning and development. So you can just see I'm that insatiable learner when it comes to human behaviors and actions and how it relates to the successes they get and the things they achieve.
Yeah. So cause the way you describe what you do, it seems like you have like a lot of passion and stuff for what you do, obviously, right? So what was the reason behind you getting into this particular field?
So the first reason, like I said, is about me, right? I had a couple of mishaps along the line in relation to my personal life and my career. And there are things I hold myself personally responsible for because I made some decisions in the way I shouldn't have made those decisions, right? I prioritized things that I shouldn't have prioritized at a particular point in time. Now, in trying to make up for those errors, I needed help because I realized I wasn't going to be able to help myself disengage from those negative thought patterns and those negative behaviors. And so I went looking for a coach. And while working with my coach was quick to point out that I'm going to be also good at being a coach. And I asked him why, and he says, because I have this interesting ability of being able to put myself in other people's shoes. So we call it empathy. I call it walking in other people's moccasins, which is living whatever my belief, my thoughts, my expectations of you are, and trying to see things purely from your perspective. What is driving you? What brought you to this point? And then being able to talk you through it. Again, that gave me the opportunity to relate well with my clients and the people I work with. So, in question to what got me in here, it's pure, let me say, who I am, right? I love to understand people, but situations, circumstances all combine together to bring me to the same spot and this very skill that I have.
Yeah, yeah. And that's good that you see, like how you appreciate the things that you went through to lead you here. And it's something that we see in a lot of people. Like even for myself, I always tell people that the reason why I'm here is because of these circumstances and the things that you went through. And at the time, you don't see it happening for you, but God always have a bigger plan,
He does.
as we know, right? And everything takes time, and as as you dive deeper into the things that you want to do, you start to see it come into life, right? I remember it's almost like I remember Dave Chappelle was talking about it one time, and he said they call this expression standing too close to the elephant. When if you stand too close to the elephant, all you could see is its penis-like skin, and then as you step back, you see the beauty of the elephant.
Yep.
I'm sure that's how life was for you, as it is for most young and gifted people. When they make it through a certain thing that they don't see it happening, and then it just happen, right? So it's almost like because I was listening to this one podcast, and this guy was talking about being a monk. It's not as extreme, as how you describe it, how I see it. To me, it was more like it's a monk, but it's a black, cool, down to earth monk, like a modern day black monk type of thing. It's like this person have the right thinking. It's always about positivity and trying to figure out why somebody act the way they act before you react to how they act. So it's yeah. That's why I get the vibe from it.
Okay, so let me put it this way. One of the first things I tell people when it comes to change is, and positive thinking is all about change, right? It starts with change, the desire to change the state of something, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I say change has a first step, and that's what a lot of us miss, which is that first step is realization that something is not the way it ought to be. We never seek change until we realize there's a reason to change, right? Why do you get up from work and say, I'm going home? It's because you realize you're not at home. Why do you get off the bus if you're on the bus? It's because you realize that you've gotten to where you're going to. So most people don't start with realization. And until realization happens, there's no desire to change. Even if it's negative thinking to positive, whatever it is, every change starts with realization. And realization comes with some form of reflection, right? And it's what we are missing, first of all, that time to step back and reflect a little bit in an objective manner and realize that, okay, this is what I want, or this is where I should be, and I'm not there. And then, okay, what can I do about it? Then curiosity comes into place at that point in time. And curiosity is what we want to work with as coaches and as neuro-linguistic programmers, as psychologists. The first thing we're looking for is that growth mindset, of which curiosity is the foundation. Now, most people just feel, oh, I know what I want to do. I'm okay with the path I'm on. That's the challenge. You gotta be curious about the path you're on. Is this the only way to do it? Are there other ways to do it? Then you begin to find a path to go. Now, let's delve into positive thinking. Where does it come into play? Is on this journey of discovery of trying to do things, you're bound to come across things that you didn't intend to come across. It's just the nature of how the world runs. Now, how do you take those lessons? Are they stumbling blocks, or are they ladders for you to step on and get to where you're going to? Again, in common gist or common talk, we'll say, is the glass half full or is it half empty, right? Because both of it is true. So the question is, first, how are you curious? Then what is your mind saying to you? And that's where positive thinking starts, because positive thinking's first foundation is about, one, self-talk. What exactly are you saying to yourself? What is your mind saying to you? And I can relate that to another thing for you, which is experiences, right? Which is experience. Your mind has little or no way of differentiating between your personal experiences and other people's experiences. Do you agree with that or not?
Your mind has
No way
yeah.
differentiating between your personal experiences and other people's experiences.
I get what you're saying. You just had to dive a little deeper.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
so that,
beautiful.
yeah.
Do you ever find yourself when they say, that street is rather rough. If you go there, you might get robbed at night.
Okay, yeah.
And then you're taking a stroll down that street and you feel your skin creeping and you feel yourself walking a little bit faster. It's not your experience. It hasn't happened to you.
Just like a vicarious. No, well, it's not even vicarious because. But I know you're saying you're right. You're right. You're right. It happens all the time.
So you're beginning to absorb other people's experiences. And that's again where positive thinking comes in, right? Because if you were to stop and tell yourself that, hello, yes, people get robbed here, but is it everybody that passes here that gets robbed? Of the thousands of people who pass here, how many people get robbed? What is the statistics? If you think through in your mind, you will begin to question those negative thoughts. Why does it have to be you of the 1,000 people that gets robbed? Because you're picking someone else's experience? Are your circumstances the same? Are you working on the same day at the same time? And so the first level is awareness. The second level is challenging those negative thoughts. And we'll get along to what positive thoughts help you to achieve, right? But I will stop right here, Vaughn, and allow you just expatiate or think about what I just
Yeah.
said.
No, as you say it, it goes into my mind. And so, do you think positive thinking is learned? Do you think it's something that people learn? Do you think it's like someone has to decide, you know what, I'm gonna start thinking positive, and they have to deal with the negative thoughts, as you say, and face them and become a positive thinker? Or do you think, as most people believe, that positive thinkers are people who was born with this this aura, you know, or this being that they don't necessarily have?
I think you can learn it. There's very little we cannot learn if we apply ourselves to it. But most of all, when it comes to thinking and your mind, it's about how you train it. It's under your control. Your mind, honestly, is a lot under your control. It's what you feed it. It's a computer, it's a machine. What are you feeding it? And if you feed it long enough, it will begin to spew out what you feed to it. Right? I mean, so most of us pick up skills that we had no idea we're going to pick up when it comes to issue of survival.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are you telling me? If you think it's important enough for you that positive thinking is equated to survival for you, what do you think will happen?
So yeah, yeah. So basically, what I gain from you is that everything comes back to survival, and human beings make choices based on what they think is best for their survival. And I agree with you a lot. I agree with you a lot. So me asking more questions is, for me, is more for clarity for people who listening to it, who, you know, is that I was having this conversation today with Jason actually, and we were talking about the same thing, you know, and it came down to that very thing, is that if something was life and death, then people will make decisions. People make decisions based off safety, you know, like what's safe for you? Like, do you think playing it safe is delaying a task, or do you think playing it safe is getting the task done so that to get later? And I think it's two different forms of thinking. Because for me, playing it safe is trying to get the task done so that I don't have to think about it later. Hence, this is why I chase all these dreams and work out so hard, because it's still they both gassed by fear, you know, but is a different type of fear. So like for me, I have FOMO. You know, I have the fear of reaching on my deathbed and being like, oh, I didn't get to do these things, you know? That's why. But then I also have the fear of my daughters getting older and having to struggle. That's why I have life insurance, you know? So I have life insurance, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna ride this bus to the wheel fall off, if that's the saying. And then if push come to shove, at the end of the day, these kids have life insurance, they're gonna be good, you know? Whereas somebody else would be like, you know what? I rather work now and not chase my dreams, because the chances of that happening is little to none in my eyes. So it both based off of survival, but what you think survival is. or what you think life is. So, and it's something that I had to train myself to do. So that's why I asked if you think positive thinking is something that you could train yourself, because I wasn't always this positive thinker. It was hard for me to get to the point where I believe in myself, and I'm still working on these things. It's never like a reach. I don't think anyone ever reaches to the point where they're like, oh, I believe fully, but you have some belief in your talents, and that kind of push you to go on. I don't know if that makes sense what I say, but
It does. It does, right? But it also brings up a point, which is at what point in time on this journey did you realize that you need to slow your positive thinking down? If you take a trip down memory lane, right, you will find that point. You will find that event, that person.
I'm scared to find that point. I'm scared to take a trip down memory
It's
lane.
it's
I'm scared
it's
to find that point.
it's very okay. I mean, it's not a strange feeling that people have taking that trip down that point where there's a change. There's always a catalyst. It's either a life event, right? That is that by someone, by something, but there's always just that point where you ping and you change direction, where you realize, okay, I need to do better. Okay, I need to think different. There's an influence, and we all have it. So it's an issue of how do we get people to have more of this kind of experiences? Because even the person that is not thinking positively, I'm sorry, there is a life event that took them down that direction.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Look, we are all born almost blank templates. And I say almost blank because we're already picking up some nuances, some things from our parents right from conception, right? That's why you hear people talk to kids and all those things, and they say, oh, when my kid is moving and I talk to them, when they hear my voice, they calm down. Hello, you're already putting some form of experiences in that kid. The experience is recognition of voice, recognition of your tone, and all of those things. So yes, we're born almost blank, not completely blank. But now once we are born, we begin to populate our brain with other people's experiences and our own experiences.
This one, your culture, your surroundings.
Based on your environment.
Yeah, and language is a big example of that, right?
So what is it in that environment that started this negative line of thinking? And what can you do as an individual if you realize that I always see the cup as half empty? I'm always concerned that it's going to fail. I'm always worried that it's not going to work. I'm the pessimist in the group. I'm the pessimist in the house. I'm always the one who sees the negative or the dark side of things. What can you do? I will say get help. No, honestly. See, we come to this point where people just think when they say get help, it means there's something fundamentally wrong with you. No. Everyone deserves to have a coach. Check, the best athletes in this world have coaches. Michael Jordan won 6 rings with the same coach. Right?
Yeah.
And then he moved to another coach and became a coach himself, but he didn't achieve that level of success. Serena had a coach. Her dad was there at the early years. Her parents were there. I mean, you want to run through the list?
No. And you bring up a good point. You bring up a really good point, because this is something I think about all the time, is that most times, especially when it comes to business, right, is that when people think about, a business coach, right, and you're like, okay, I want a business coach who's a multi-millionaire, and that person should be the person to coach me because he gets, so he could coach me. But that's not true. So it's just like with Michael Jordan. He had 6. He's the best player ever after LeBron. You know?
That's debatable, but I'm not gonna go there.
So he's the best. So he's the best player ever in history. But he had a coach that I don't know if the coach played NBA, right? And then he tried to become a coach and he couldn't coach. So not everyone who did it could coach. Coaching is a talent in itself. So when you think about business and life coaching and these kind of stuff, it's just somebody who know how to deal with certain problems. Like for instance, I remember watching the Serena Williams movie, and one of the main things that made them so big was the open stance. And all the coaches back then was against the open stance. They were like, "Oh no, that's not how you get power." And he was like, "No, that's how you get power." And then they realized that yeah, it's actually how you get power. And he was not a big coach. It was not he wasn't phenomenal at all. Chances are that if he didn't have talented daughters, nobody would even know who he was. And to me that was amazing because it showed that not because somebody have what you think is success means that the person can help you in certain aspects of your life.
You might not be ready yet to be coached by a Jeff Bezos or an Elon Musk.
Exactly.
You as the raw material, you're not refined enough to be able to digest what those people are going to put on your table. So you might want to start with someone who can manage the issues you're facing at this level that will prepare you for those people. And that's what coaching is. I've had coaches who came to me, and at a point in time, I told them the challenge you're currently facing is out of my expertise or skills, but I'm going to recommend someone who can deal with these issues at this level. Why? It's not because I don't believe in myself, but because I believe we're all built to deal with different things at different times. I'm good at what I do and I believe in myself, but I also know what I'm not good at doing. And so I collaborate with other people. So when people talk about, I want to grow, I want to change, but I'm waiting for so person, and I'm like, is that person ready to deal with the level of issues you have? Are you refined enough to end up on that person's table? Do you guys align in terms of the values that person has? And that's a big question. Again, let's bring it back a little bit back again to positive thinking. If you think positively, you will know that there's something to learn from everybody that you meet on the way. That's true. I'm learning from my kids.
Every day.
I drive on the road, I see homeless people, and I'm learning from them. The guy who cuts me off in traffic, I'm learning from him because I'm asking myself at that point in time, dude, have you done this before? What was pushing you if you ever did this? What is the reason why you did it? And if you never did it, what stopped you from doing this? I'm curious. I'm asking myself what's going on in my head. What are the reasons behind what I'm doing? And when I find those reasons, I think of them of how can they help me in the future as against what they denied me of purely. So I try to apply it as a growth lesson, as a development lesson. Some people also take it as something that pulls them back. It's okay to realize that something has gone wrong. The place of failing is the place of failing forward at the same time. You can either fail forward or you can fail backward. People tend to fail backwards because they dwell too much on the wrong things that they didn't do right instead of taking the lessons there and realizing, I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to do this differently.
And this is directly linked to what you was talking about earlier with survival. It all come back to survival because most of the things that we learn from our parents is how to survive, and it was like, okay, if you do this, you might get burned.
Yep.
And then you're like, okay, you stay away from it for your whole life, but you never get burned for yourself. So it goes back to survival and other people experiences. It based on like what was he saying that you had that your mind was based off other your way of thinking is based off other people's experiences.
Yes.
And it's true because and that it just goes back to what we were talking about earlier. So for me, positive thinking and the point what we was talking about earlier, that if I was to go back and think about it and that kind of stuff, is just today I was having a conversation with my wife and I was telling her that I don't know what happened to me in the past, but for some reason I reach a point in my life now where I never remember bad things that someone tells me unless they text it to me. There's a lot of memories I had as kids that I can't get back. Like it's almost like those memories are lost. And I know for a fact that if I go to therapy I'm gonna get back these memories, and that's the scary thing for me. So for me, positive thinking for me at that point, when I was a kid and I can't remember what happened, was me telling myself, you know what? At least I could dream. And in my dream, I could control my dream. I don't have to be scared of my dreams no more. I used to have a lot of nightmares. And so I told myself, if I could control my dreams, then I could control my mind. Because most people can't control their dreams. Most people, when they have a nightmare, they have a nightmare. They have nightmares. So then I started practicing on controlling my dreams. And most people don't believe it, right? But I started practicing on controlling my dreams and understanding when this is a dream, I could control it. So one thing I do is that in my dream, I could jump far.
Okay.
So anytime I have a bad experience, I'll jump. And if I jump far, I'll be like, okay, I'm a dream. But if I jump and there's regular gravity, is this zero gravity or regular gravity? Then I'll know like, okay, this is real life, you know. So in my dream, I jump far, and then okay, this is a dream. I could turn and I could tell anything. Oh, this is a dream. You need to leave, and it leaves because I can control it. It's your thoughts, you know. So for me, positive thinking started there for me, and it went to it reached to the point where I could, a lot of my memories are gone, you know, and yeah, that's something for another
It's
day.
it's it's a, it's like a fuse,
Yeah,
right? I mean, a fuse box when it's overloaded and realizes that it's going to ruin the system, it shuts down, right? It burns out in order not to burn major things. So your mind also has those kind of mechanisms in place that blots out certain things because it realizes, I don't want to say it's too traumatic, but it just realizes that there's something that it needs to protect itself from. And so, yes, you can go to therapy and they might not dig it up because there are now interventions that don't dwell on the past, but take you from the current state you're in and move you forward into desired state, right? So they will not dig into the past. There are those kind of therapies that exist now. But of course, there are therapies that want to take you down that work. Again, it depends on what you, the person, want and the kind of therapist you come across and what your mandate is to them. So there are different ways to deal with this issue. But let me bring this issue about positive thinking.
yeah.
Let me bring it to land. There's this research that was done that shows that a good chunk of people who have terminal diseases, we're talking about cancer and all those things, a good chunk of them, I'm not going to give the percentage, is extremely high, right?
Yeah.
Research shows that there is some form of bitterness in their past that they are hanging on to. Most people don't not all. Of course, we say in psychology there's
Yeah.
nothing that is absolute. But we look for percentages, right? And you find out that a good percentage, there is something they're hanging on to. They're angry about, they're bitter about, and they're holding on to it. So somehow there is a correlation between your health and positive thinking. Because when you're in a less than optimal mindset, don't forget the body works with what? With chemicals. We call them hormones. There are specific hormones that are secreted based on your mood. And some of the hormones that are secreted when you have negative thoughts are not necessarily good for your body. The excess of them begins to damage things. It begins to create problems for you. And at times, some of these challenges are irreversible. And that's why we say for your own health, think positive, think good thoughts, keep your eyes on the ball, right? Think about possibilities. Life knocks you down. So get up, dust it off. Go down fighting, not go down being a pessimist. Whichever way it goes is your choice. And the more you think, the things you think about, you attract them. I know we've had this so many times, and someone says, I spent all my life thinking about money and I haven't attracted any money my way. Yep, you will attract them, but you also still have work to do. So I can't just say, I'm thinking about being Messi, and then I'm going to become one of the best footballers on earth when I ever go to the football field. Or I never put in the discipline of Messi. He goes to practice, he goes and diet. There's a regimen he follows. So you just thinking about it alone is the first step. The second thing is, are you putting in the work that is going to get you that kind of success that you want? But it first of all starts with thinking, because even if you put in all the work and you never believe you're going to be the best, you're going to miss those skills. You're going to keep trying, but your mind is already defeating you because you're not learning. You're already telling yourself, I can't do it. So when someone says, look, this is how you do it, that's too difficult. I mean, that's complicated. This is not for me. Whereas if you keep it in mind, yes, okay, how did he do it? That's not so difficult. Then why am I not doing it the right way? What am I getting wrong? Now that's the right attitude. I know it's easier said than done, but positive thinking is about practice.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So it's just like The Secret, you know.
Yeah, that's a beautiful book.
Yeah, so The Secret is, and basically whenever someone talks about The Secret, and then negative people come and they say, oh, so you're saying that kids, like that poor kids could just think about food and food will come. And it's like, no, that's not what it's saying. Is you create this barrier in your mind for you to believe that is not true. But all it is that you need to believe in what you want and in what you do. And most importantly, in what you do, you know? Because everyone says, oh, you need to believe in what you want. It's like, no, you need to believe in what you do. Because what you do is way more important than what you want, right? I could want, as you say, to be Messi, but if I practice basketball, I'll never become Messi. So you gotta do something and believe in it, and that's where the secret lies, and the art of positive thinking. And I say it's an art because you learn it. You learn it from experiences, and you learn it from seeing that. A lot of the times when it did work for me, it's because I tried. People talk about confidence, right? And what confidence is? Confidence compared to, confidence compared to cockiness is confidence is the art of positive thinking. Is you understanding that what, this person here might beat me, but he's not. So in the back of your mind, it doesn't even cross your mind that this person might beat you. In your mind, you believe that you're gonna win. I remember this year telling Arsenal fans that the reason that they lose is because Arsenal didn't believe. You didn't believe, and they laugh and they say, you might be right, but it's all an art. It's all something that you learn to do, and you have to keep trying and trying and trying and say, okay, no, I need to be positive now, and it still happens to me this day. That's why I take Sundays. I take some time during my week to do some meditation and some praying and go through all my emotions again and think about certain issues and situations and how I could be better. I try not to think about negative things that happen.
Look, confidence for me is knowing that I'm good at what I'm doing, but there's still space for me to grow and learn more about it. That is confidence, right? Whereas arrogance is believing that I'm good at what I can do and no one else is out there that can teach me more about it.
True.
And that's it. I mean, again, I love using basketball as an example. I mean, there's the Redeem team, right? God rest his soul. Kobe came into the Redeem team. I mean, US basketball had been beaten so many times that they had begun to forget what it means to be winners, right? And then they brought Kobe back in to try to get them back to their winning ways. And those guys, all stars on their own right. I mean, big boys, doing Wade and Co. They tell a story that they went partying and then coming in early in the morning, tired after clubbing all night. Look, this is the US basketball team. These boys are stars. And they come in the morning and they say, right in the lobby, they're coming in for party and they see Kobe wearing all his gear and he's going to the gym. Like, man, where you going to? And I said, oh, he's going to the gym. And they're like, what the heck? Where you going to sleep? Say, but guess what? A few days later, he's not the only one in the gym. He's arguably the top star in that team along with Kobe. But he still found time to go to the gym every freaking morning because he didn't depend on what he was yesterday. He knows that what he is going to be tomorrow is dependent on the work he puts in.
And that's somebody else putting in the work at the same
And
time.
you can't tell me Kobe doesn't have confidence. I mean, Kobe's confidence borders on arrogance with the way he plays on the court.
Yeah.
But guess what? He still knows he has space to grow. And when he came into that team, he still realizes that, look, there's this joke where they said to Kobe that, look, Kobe, there is no, basketball is a team game, right? And he says, I hear you, but ME still found its way to that freaking thing, right?
Yeah.
That's Kobe.
So there's
for
no
you.
iron team, but there's
Yes, but there's an ME
in
there,
that. Yeah.
right? Good. But you see, he still knows that he can't play the 5 positions by himself. And he has to be at the top of his game. And that's where confidence is. Now, look, we can talk about positive thinking all day long and how important it is. But the core thing here is, first of all, realizing that I'm not hitting the kind of potential I'm capable of hitting.
Yeah. And you have to test your mind, and testing your mind is something that's important. So I tell Jason all the time, I tell people all the time, I say that everyone goes to the gym. Everyone goes to the gym to get their body right. But no one works out the mind. So for me, I look at the things that control my life, right? And recently I gave up alcohol, so like every night when I go home, I'll take like a small drink in a glass while I'm editing. And drink. And then I told myself, you know what, I feel like I need to give up alcohol. It's like, why? It's like, no, well, I need to give it up because it have a control of my mind. Now my mind starting to believe that I need a little bit of alcohol to edit or to chill. Like, you know what? Let me show my mind that I'm in charge. And it was hard the first couple of days, and now I'm good. On Sunday here, so from Monday, my wife and I supposed to be doing a 2-week fast for sugar. And we're supposed to give up sugar for 2 weeks. Everything sugar, no sugar for 2 weeks. To see what happens. Just to see what happens, right? To our bodies, to our mind, and that kind of stuff. So for me, it's like, I hate my mind. I hate something being in control of my mind. And that's why I never smoked weed before too, because like, to each his own. If somebody smoked weed, that person smoked weed. I just didn't like the feeling that I didn't have my right mind.
You have handed over your mind to something else.
Exactly, and I hated it. I hated being drunk. And these things, when it came late in my life, it wasn't my whole life I was like this. I got to a point where I would be talking to my friends, and every time we talk, my friends would be like, why every time we chill, you have to be talking about something serious? And then I realized, okay, this is not my friends. We're on 2 different paths. Then I started changing my circle and that kind of stuff. But all this came with me telling myself that I needed a stronger mind. I needed a mind that was impregnable from society. And I needed a mind that I could control and I can make my own decisions based on what I want to do.
So again, a point of self-awareness. That is it. That's a point of self-awareness. That, look, I need to do something different. To get a different result, I need to do this in a different way. And that's the point we all, I keep hammering, is the point we all need to come to. And we only come there through reflection. And people are not spending enough time listening to themselves. And when they listen to themselves, they don't spend time asking themselves the right questions. They're worried about the answers they will give to themselves. Why am I thinking this way? What is responsible for this thought pattern? And I challenge you, if you try to do that, try to write minimum of 6 to 7 reasons. Why did I take you to 6 to 7 or 8, in fact? Is because the first 1, 2, or 3 might be excuses you're making for yourself. You might blame it on someone else. You might blame it on another thing. But by the time you begin to get to 6, 7, 8, you're either running out of answers, excuses, and you're arriving at that point where you do not want to tell yourself the truth. That's the point where you begin to really move from the point you are to the point you want to go. Right? So, and that's how I would say go down the road of 6, 7, 8 questions, answers. If I say, why do you want to change the things you do today? You will give me a very long reason, winded reason. If I say, what are 8 reasons, list 8 reasons why you want to change what you want to change, it's going to be a different ballgame. You can't give me a story. You have to list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to get to a point and you're going to pause and you will no longer answer me in reading. Why were you pausing? Because finally, hopefully, you're beginning to search inside yourself for those reasons. And I'm most likely going to say to you, Vaughn, you don't have to answer that on the spot. You can take it and sleep over it and let's have a conversation about it tomorrow.
I think I can answer right now. I think if it was on if it was a question directed to me, I could answer things that I want to change for sure. But that's only because all I ever do is look at things about me that I like, and things about me that I want to change, and things about me that I'm like, you know what, I like this, but I think it could be better. Every single every single step I take is always a step towards trying to be a better person, a better husband, a better dad, a better business owner, a better a better general person, So I split myself up into all these different beings, and um they all come together at one at night, and we have this long conversation in my head, which to some people might sound crazy, but to me is normal, and that's just how I do with my coping and stuff. But I always believe that for me to become better, there's always things I need to change.
So let me do this. Tell me 6 reasons. List 6 reasons why you started this podcast.
6 reasons. 6 reasons.
List 6.
Okay.
One.
Yes. 6 reasons I started this podcast. The first reason was that I started filmmaking, right? And at this point in my career, it wasn't very busy right now. So I knew that I wanted to do something to stay busy. My second reason is that I had a lot of people in that come to the shop all the time, and we have these deep conversations, and I felt like it will be so beneficial to people who not are wrong, and who going through certain things in their life that they need. Um, my third reason, my third reason was that I could discover another part of myself that I didn't really know, and I knew that from talking to people, I could learn a lot about me, a lot about them, and a lot about the universe. My fourth reason was just to build relationships with more people, and build a different community um, of people who like minded. And I think like having a podcast was a good outlet to try to get people on, right? And then the sixth reason was obviously to try to stay busy, as I say, and like market myself, and get into different realms with different people. But the seventh reason underlining all was always that I wanted to help people. I felt like everyone comes to me for advice, and I always felt like it could help so much more people who just do, like, some people who do come to this shop. There's a lot of people who going through certain things in their life, and they don't have anyone to talk to. And I remember one time walking downtown, and there was this a homeless person. She was sitting right around the corner, and she was crying. And as I walked by, she was crying, and the thing she was saying is like, most people passing and thinking that she's on drugs, and yes, she is on drugs, but she's crying and she's saying to her mother, "Are you proud of me now?" So I passed by, and she's crying and she's saying, "Okay, mama, are you proud of me now? Are you proud of me now?" And everyone is just like, I'm walking by. But I listen. I listen, and I hear people's cries a lot. Um, and I knew that there's so much people in the world that just hurting and they needed help. And I tell people since I was young, I tell people that I know how I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die from people. People are gonna kill me, because I love people, and they always let me down. But it's life, So
So add two more.
two more reasons why I started the podcast. Um, Another reason is so we could have sub reasons. Another reason is that, so now I know that I could get into your community. If I have you on the podcast, I could get into your community. If I have Savio, if I have Emily, whoever I have on the podcast, I get into their community, because now I'm talking to their friends.
You already said you were trying to build a relationship, right?
No,
You're
no,
trying
no.
to get to know more
No.
people. You already
Yeah.
gave that. So
No,
this
well,
is related.
Well, it is technically related, but this one is more getting into your community, as in your base. So like you posting this on Instagram will get people in your
Okay.
base to come into my
Beautiful.
base. And I could have
Next.
them here. A next reason why we start this podcast is so I could practice filmmaking at the same time I'm doing audio, I'm doing lighting, I'm doing filmmaking, I'm doing recording, I'm doing editing, I'm doing set dressing. So I'm getting to so like if you watch my first podcast, they all was different places and different colors. The last week I tried black and white, it didn't work out,
So that's a beautiful one. You
But
know exactly
I
why
will
you're
lie.
here.
I will lie. I say I won't lie. You did challenge me because I had to think deep as to why, you know. But as I say, is that I challenge myself hard. Like I rank myself hard a lot, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
So honestly, what I will do is I would have told you to write these things down
Yeah, should have
and
read
to
it down.
go back and think about them and reflect on them and ask, are these the things that I'm currently driving with this podcast? How many of these things am I currently achieving with this?
Oh, I have one more.
Okay.
One more reason why I did it is that I wanted to show my kids to never stop and wait for opportunity. To
Okay.
always create opportunities no matter how hard.
Interesting.
And no matter how hard and no matter how tired you are, you can never be too tired. Because someone else out there working. So I wanted to show my kids that you had to keep chasing something.
So I would say this to you. And again, we're still on positive thinking. And this time I'm bringing in visualization into it, which is, what do you see when you look at things? Do you see the glass half full or half empty? Do you see success or do you see failure? And let me start with your goals. If you take a look at your goals, I'm old school. I accept that. I came up at a time when we had to take pictures with cameras and then pull out the negatives from it carefully so that it doesn't get spoiled. Then we take it off to a studio where they bring it out as negatives that we can view, take up to the sun or light to see the pictures inside of them. Then you decide which of those negatives you want to print. Accept I'm part of that generation. But if you see your goals as those negatives, then there's a long way between you and the possibility of achieving your goals. Because they are just shadows to you, right? They're not real to you. But if you can see your goals as black and white pictures, you're getting there.
Yeah.
But the people who really crush their goals each and every time are people who see their goals almost like a movie with them as actors right in the middle of it.
HD. Yeah.
Why is that so? Because if you can see yourself in your goal as a movie, as a moving object, as something that is live, you can tend to begin to experience what it feels like around that goal and how you need to adjust yourself to achieve that goal. It begins to feel real to you, it begins to drive your thoughts. And then someone will say, I close my eyes, I can imagine myself driving a Ferrari. I can see myself in colored pictures driving a Ferrari. Let me tell you the truth. If you sit with a therapist, I will tell you that they will pull it out of you that you do not really believe that, because even your mind is telling you, do you have what it takes to get a Ferrari? There's that still voice inside of there that's asking you, do you have what it takes to be a Ferrari? To have a Ferrari, to drive a Ferrari? Now, where does positive thinking comes? Positive thinking comes from you telling that still voice, yes, I don't have what it takes right now, but I'm going to get what it takes and I'm going to put in the work. That is positive thinking. I'm not talking about wishful thinking. Wishful thinking is where you sit down on your lazy behind and just imagine it. Positive thinking is about keeping the positivity in mind, seeing the right side of things, the positive side, the possibilities, and at the same time thinking it through. You spoke about positive thinking is not going to put food on people's table because they just think about it. But guess what? If you're positive minded and you're hungry, if you step outside, then there's a difference between you saying, nobody's going to even help me, and you stepping up to 50 people and 49 say no, but someone is going to help eventually. That is positive thinking. It's understanding that I'm at a disadvantage now and I do need help. And you go out and get the help. But you also need to know that because I get help today does not mean I will be positive about getting help again tomorrow and then keep myself in that situation. No. It's positive thinking that today I will get help, but I also need to do better about my own situation. It's about dignity along with getting help. So there's a lot of things tied in here, right? But just keep it in mind that your thought process will affect your behaviors. And your behaviors will affect your outcomes. Example. I'm coming into the barber's shop. I'm pissed about something while coming here. And I'm coming in here, everybody's happy and having fun. Then I begin to snap at everyone. I bet it with you, within a few minutes, the conversation is going to die down in the barber's shop. Why? Either because someone is going to look up to me and say, dude, calm down, we're not the source of your problem. Or because everyone is going to just keep quiet and like, what's this guy's issue? And they're waiting for me to get done and get out of there. But guess what? Because I'm hurt coming from somewhere else, I have brought that attitude into a positive situation and I have poisoned that situation. And guess what? The next time I come to the barber's shop, regardless of whether I'm happy or not, they're going to remember that experience and their reaction to me is going to be different. Self-fulfilling prophecy. So your attitude, your thinking does a lot to your behavior unless you consciously stop and think about it. I'm going to put it on the table here, fine. Look, you cannot control stimuli. Life is going to happen to you. It continues to happen. You can't control that. That's the first stage. The second stage is your interpretation of what life throws at you. That is what you can control. I can control the next man driving his car on the street. I can control him blaring his horn. I can't control you keeping beards. I can control what you're going to wear, but I can control my thoughts, my reactions. I can control my thoughts first about what it is. So when you say to me, Ben, you're crazy. Oh, I make this about you. If someone you work with, let's say Jason says, Vaughn, you know you're crazy, right? You're just not thinking right. You might take it with levity. It's fun. You guys are playing. You know each other. But just imagine if your neighbor that just moved in, that you have never spoken to, and the first time you meet in the parking lot, he looks at you and says, hello, Vaughn. You know you're crazy. You know you're not thinking. How does that sit with you against the way it sits with you from Vaughn and from Jason?
Familiarity.
So guess what? It's the same message, but it is you that is interpreting them different.
Yeah.
And that's why I say you can't stop the stimuli that come to you, but you can control your interpretation of that stimuli. And then your interpretation of that stimuli determines the action you take, which at times you cannot control. So where the place of positive thinking comes is that thinking, that interpretation of events where you have control. 3-step process: stimuli, interpretation, reaction. Your power is in interpretation each and every time. So when things happen, I know that if I interpret this wrongly, my reaction is going to be wrong. And that's what governs me a lot of times. And I hold and I say, I have to get this interpretation as close as possible to the right interpretation. And that's curiosity. Sorry, why would you say I'm crazy and I'm not thinking? Until he says something that makes it clear that it's personal, only then do I finally make the conclusion. Then I let him have the reaction that he deserves. Right? But if I jump to a conclusion and he ends up telling me, I listened to your podcast, is that not what you said? And then you begin to feel like a fool, like, oh, he's actually trying to be familiar with me. And then you're trying to get in there and you're like, but he shouldn't have gone that way. Sorry, it's too late. You have not trained your reaction properly. You have not trained your interpretation, properly. And that's the core of it. Practice. When people provide you with stimuli, stop and check, what is my interpretation? Right? When I come in and somebody says, hi, Ben, I want to stop and say, interpret this properly. And then give the appropriate reaction. So back where I come from, there's this thing we say, which we say, we point to your hands as an insult. And I say, if your friends do it, you all joke, you laugh, you play about it. But when strangers do it, you take it personal. Why are you insulting me? And I'm like, it's just hands. It's your interpretation. For me, this can mean an insult. It can mean stop. And so it's my choice how I interpret. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
And that's where positive thinking is. And again, I come back to realization that your reaction is based on your interpretation. He insulted me. So people are going to jail because they're saying, oh, he dissed me and I had to put him down. Dude, that's your interpretation. Now you're in jail and life is going on. Is that what you expect of yourself? Is that the best that you think you can achieve? Is that the ceiling of your achievement in your mind, because that's the truth about it. But if your thinking is different, then you're going to mind your interpretations of actions. And that completely changes your reaction. And your reaction often changes your results completely. And that's why I put it and live it.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, and I think I think you ended it good there. I think that was a good way to cap up the whole conversation. Yeah, I think that was a yeah. I think we leave a lot for people to listen to. Yeah, so thanks, Ben.
Thank you for having me, Vaughn.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for taking time and coming and talking and teaching me and whoever listens. Yeah, I think this was another great episode. I think this is one for the books. To the people, remember that this is Young and Gifted Podcast, the podcast where we dive into the lives of young and gifted people, and we talk about situations that they've been through that could help other people or certain topics, you know. Today we was lucky enough to have Ben to come on and bless us with a lot of knowledge and inspiration. And just remember that we are sponsored by Oxambo, that's where we shoot this video, and we are also sponsored by Duns Productions. Thank you for your time, and see you next week.
Cheers.